Okay, let's be real. Have you ever posted something online only to have it vanish without a trace? Or, seen an ad that's so specific it's a little creepy and wondered how they knew? Well, the European Union has just dropped a massive new set of rules that's designed to tackle exactly that and a whole lot more. It's called the Digital Services Act, and it's set to completely change our online world. So let's get into it and break down what this new digital rulebook actually means for all of us.
All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll take a quick trip back to the Wild West days of the web to see why things had to change. Then we'll dive into the EU's new rulebook itself. We'll look at its really interesting pyramid of rules. After that, the big one, what this all means for you. And finally, we'll find out who the new sheriff in town is. Who's actually making sure everyone follows these rules.
Okay, so first things first. To really get why this new rulebook is such a big deal, we gotta rewind the clock. A long way. The last major internet rules in Europe, they were written more than 2 decades ago. And in internet years, that's like ancient history. I mean, just think about it for a second. The year 2000, that was the era of dial-up noises. E-commerce was this new kind of quirky thing. Fast forward to today, in our lives, our friendships, how we get news, how we shop, everything, it's all happening on these giant global platforms. It's not just a little different, it's a whole new universe. And yeah, this massive shift brought a ton of new problems with it. We're talking about everything from dangerous stuff being sold online to the rapid spread of harmful content. The old rules, they just weren't built for this. The internet had basically outgrown its own legal framework. It was time for an update. Which brings us right here to the EU's massive answer to all this chaos. It's called the Digital Services Act, or the DSA. And let me tell you, this isn't just some minor tweak. This is the EU's big play to finally tame that digital frontier. So what's the big idea behind all of this? Honestly, it's incredibly simple, but also really powerful. The guiding principle is this: what is illegal offline should be illegal online. That's it. It means things like hate speech or selling fake goods. Stuff that's not okay on the street shouldn't be okay on the internet either. Makes sense, right? But what does illegal content actually mean? Well, the DSA keeps the definition pretty broad. It's not just about the words in a post. It could be a product for sale, like an unsafe toy on a marketplace. It could be non-consensual images or terrorist content. The key thing to remember is that the DSA doesn't invent new crimes. It's all based on what's already illegal under EU or national law. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. The DSA is smart. It knows you can't apply the same rules to a small blog and a massive social network. So it uses this clever tiered system. Think of it like a pyramid of rules. And the logic behind the pyramid is simple. The bigger you are, the more responsibility you have. The more influence a service has and the higher the risk it poses to society, the stricter the rules become. It's not one size fits all. It's all about making the rules fit the size of the player. So let's climb this pyramid, starting at the bottom. Tier 1 is for all intermediary services. We're talking your basic internet service providers. They have just some simple obligations. Step up a level, and you've got hosting services, like a company that hosts websites. Their main extra job is to have a simple notice of action system so you can report illegal stuff. The third level is for online platforms, and this is where things get more serious with more duties. And then right at the top, the peak of the pyramid, you have the very large online platforms, and they get the strictest rules of all. So you might be wondering, what's the difference between a hosting service and an online platform? Well, it's pretty straightforward. A hosting service just stores stuff. An online platform is built to spread that information to the public. Think about social media or an online marketplace. It's all about public sharing. And that brings us to the very top of the pyramid, the VLOPs, the very large online platforms. The DSA is super clear about who belongs here. If you have more than 45 million monthly active users in the EU, boom, you're a VLOP. That's a huge number, about 10% of the entire EU population. And with that kind of reach comes the highest level of responsibility. All right, we've talked about the structure, the pyramid, all that stuff, but now let's get to the part that really matters to you and me. What does all this actually change about how we use the internet every day? Let's talk about your new digital rights. You know that feeling, right? You post something, it's totally fine in your eyes, and then poof, it's gone. No email, no explanation, just gone. Well, the DSA is designed to put an end to that mystery. Under these new rules, if a platform messes with your content, they have to tell you exactly why. No more vague excuses. They have to give you a clear reason, point to the specific term of service you supposedly broke, and, this is key, tell you what your options are to fight back. So no more guessing games. Okay, next up. Ever been talking about something random and then 5 minutes later an ad for it pops up on your phone? It's unsettling. You're left wondering, why on earth am I seeing this ad?
While the DSA is flipping on the lights here. Now ads have to be clearly marked as ads, and platforms have to give you real info on why you were targeted. But here's the really big deal. The DSA flat out bans targeted ads using your sensitive data. That means no more ads based on your health info or your religious or political beliefs. Oh, and targeted ads aimed at kids? Also completely banned. That is a huge change.
But what happens when you think the platform got it wrong? You disagree with their decision to remove your post, for example. In the past, complaining felt like shouting into a black hole, right? Well, the DSA gives you a megaphone. So now all online platforms have to offer a complaint system that's easy to find and totally free to use. And you get a whole 6 months to appeal their decisions. But it doesn't stop there. If their internal system doesn't work for you, you can take your case to a certified, independent group to resolve the issue. This gives you actual power and a real way to be heard. Okay, new rules are great. New rights are even better. But rules are useless if no one enforces them. So, who's the new sheriff in town? It's actually a two-part answer. Think of it like a team of sheriffs. For most platforms, there will be a national regulator in each EU country in charge of supervision. But for the big fish, those very large online platforms we talked about, the European Commission itself steps in directly. They handle the really big, systemic issues. And these sheriffs have some serious firepower. To make sure these companies are paying attention, the fines are huge. We're talking up to 6% of a company's global annual turnover. Let that sink in. For the biggest tech giants, that's not millions of dollars, that's billions with a B. That's the kind of number that makes even the biggest boardrooms in the world sit up and listen.
So at the end of the day, what's the goal here? It's pretty clear. The DSA is all about leaving that Wild West internet behind. The aim is to build an online world that's safer, way more transparent, and where the platforms are finally held accountable, all while making sure our fundamental rights are protected online.
So this is the law of the land in Europe now, but the story might not end there. Often, when Europe sets rules this big, they create a ripple effect across the globe. So the final question is this just a safer internet for Europe? Or are we looking at the blueprint for a new global standard for the internet?